Thank you guys for being here. You're very brave. It's 4 p.m. Friday. You're still there. The motivation for new knowledge is very high, and I will try to correspond to that desire to stay here. So, my name is Dmytro. I'm a co-founder and chief business development officer at Osavul. Essentially, what we develop, we create AI-powered technologies for information environment assessment or narrative intelligence. As you know, it's especially useful when you run strategic communications, when you're responsible for countering disinformation, countering FIMI, no matter how you call it, you build a response for the activities of bad guys who try to influence your society. Our technologies, they analyze the data, they extract narratives, we're able to understand who is spreading these narratives, attribute to the certain government, and help all our partners to combat the threats that they are facing. Originally, I'm Ukrainian, that obviously we work a lot in Ukraine, and right now Osavul is the key solution for the security, governmental institutions in Ukraine, and probably we are the only private company in the world knowing how to fight the information war, not on papers or PDFs, but in real life, and we are happy to share our experience how it works. Besides that, we actively cooperate with our partners in the United States, in European Union, we work with NATO, and right now, as Todor mentioned, thank you for kind promotion and advertising, we cooperate more with the civil society. There are some partners even here in the room, few of them, so thank you for cooperation. Happy to see more people in our friendly group. Today, what I wanted to actually talk with you about is not like some very technical things. I want to talk about the key pillars and approaches to building resilience for governments, because we work a lot with them all over the world, both sides of ocean, and the problems are kind of the same. The scale can be different, right? Obviously, in Ukraine, you have much more threats than here in Bulgaria. But the tools to address the threats are the same. And in my humble opinion, there is three key pillars how you can approach this. So to make your state resilient towards internal threats, external threats, you need to have good situational awareness. You need to know what's happening on the ground, right? In the same way as if you are a soldier, if you are a general, you need to know what's happening on a battlefield. You need to understand what's happening in your society. Second thing, you need to have a good threat intelligence. You need to know where threats are appearing and who is doing them. And the third one, which is not the most obvious, but it's the threat sharing and collaboration. Especially here in Europe, where there is no extremely centralized government, there is many parties, a lot of cooperation consortiums. It's important to have a way to exchange information and have technological solutions and organizational approaches and legal frameworks to do so. So if you do these three things, you are good to go, and you can say that your society is kind of prepared for being resilient. So we'll dive into each of them to give some more context. So situational awareness, right? Part of our software is designed specifically for that. We grab the data from the open web, from social media, from websites, videos, pictures, whatever people communicate in all possible formats and languages. Then we apply AI to read all of that instead of you, because if you want to read everything that happened in Bulgaria in this week, you easily can land on maybe 10 million messages or 20 million messages only about politics, social, economical stuff. I'm not talking about your messages about the cats, right? I'm talking about the actual discussions in a public domain. So you need to have an AI that will read it instead of you and will give you a clear extracted narratives with a clear expectation who spread them, where are the foreign interference, where are the bots, and where is the natural discussion, right? So to do that, at the first step, you need to know which societies, which narratives spread in your society. You need to have a certain narrative extraction capabilities. You can do it through AI, you can do it through humans, no matter how, but you need to know what are the key ideas spreading on the ground. Second, you need to know what are the key narratives spreading among your allies and among your adversaries. This is very important because our information environments, they don't exist in a vacuum. So information easily flow, especially in Europe where people speak few languages and there's borders in the information environment doesn't exist. People always consume information from not only from your local media. They read New York Times, they read foreign media, they talk with other people all over the world. That's why you need to know what's happening with those with whom you are friends, and you need to know what's happening about you, at least, with those with whom you are adversaries. So if we right now are having a pleasure to sitting in a NATO country, obviously, as a NATO country in Bulgaria, you need to know what's happening in Russia about Bulgaria. And especially with Russia, if you see what they say and what they communicate and what their government communicates specifically, you can predict their actions because they're extremely keen on doing information operations and information support before physical actions. They always announce what they do. That's why it makes them quite a comfortable adversary to scan. They have something to read on. And then last but not least, you need to know who is spreading these narratives. Either internally or externally. You need to know whether it's spread by humans, so it's actual public opinion, whether it's spread by bots, meaning that somebody put efforts and money into spreading that, whether it's spread by certain governments, meaning that you can see what is the official position. So if you have three elements, you're basically good to go with situational awareness and you know what's happening. Then, as a second thing, what you need to do, you need to know what are the threats. You need to build your own threat intelligence capabilities. Again, you can build them through tech, which is, in my perspective, much more convenient, but you can also have very trained analysts who will do their job manually. But at the end of the day, you, as the MOD, as an internal affairs, as a foreign affairs specialist, as a civil society representative working for society in your country, need to know what kind of threats are targeting you. Is there any? It might be there is no threats and it's a happy day. It might be that you have many threats and you need to think on that. First, you need to identify them. Then you need to see who is spreading them. By who, I mean not only which accounts, right? Because if you have 100 Twitter accounts, 5 Telegram channels spreading the threats and targeting you, so what? What you can do with that? Practically nothing, right? You can just write a fancy report and say to your boss that, hey, we saw this threat. And maybe the best thing what you can prepare a communication. But it's not enough, because behind each particular threat, there is always a person, there is always an organization, and you can attribute it to them. Sometimes it's highly professional, military intelligence, or private companies that cooperate with them. So obviously you will not be able to track down these people and to attribute it directly, at least. But sometimes the people who do this, they're not extremely proficient, and they leave some traces online. And using open source data, everything that exists just in the internet, nothing private or hidden, you can find traces to a particular person, to a particular organization, to a particular bank account, to a particular address somewhere. And it allows you then, especially if you are in a government and you have some legal frameworks to do, track these people, track these organizations, and try to implicate some legal responsibility for what they're doing, because according to many norms, especially in Europe right now with DSA, this kind of stuff is becoming kind of a grayish area. And last but not least, once you have a threat and you know who is doing this, you need to define what you want to do with this. Do you want to hunt down these people and bring responsibility? Do you want to build your own strategic communications against that? Do you want to just drop this because it doesn't gain any traction and ignore? Once you have the good threat intelligence and good situational awareness with a good measurement, you can determine the next steps. And threat sharing. So I think this is extremely crucial because there is so many players. On this conference, there is a tons of organizations that do some kind of a FIMI research. All of you identify threats, write reports, publish them, communicate in your own bubbles. But at the end of the day, often people do not collaborate. And they do the same job twice, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times. They do it over and over again, which is not effective, essentially. If you run your new investigation in Bulgaria, if I were you, I would want to know what was done in Bulgaria before, what was done during the last 3-5 years, and so on. To do that, all threats that are identified, in ideal world, should be recorded in a standardized format, meaning that each person all over the world can read this data and understand this. It should be recorded and stored in a standardized way. And if this standardization happens, then you can exchange this information in an easy way if everybody is prepared to, all have a technological solutions to read this information and make reports. Then knowledge becomes shareable between NGOs and the governments, shareable between different states, especially in NATO, which is a organization about a collective response, right? It enables you collective action, but also with your partners outside of the NATO, partners on the level of European Union. States will be able to collaborate and respond more effectively. And then at the end of the day, if you collaborate, you can build a collective solution, what you want to do with this, and gain collective intelligence. So I think these three key pillars kind of give you an information advantage against your adversaries. Obviously, as a defenders, you are in a better position as well as I am, because disinformation and influence operations, it's asymmetric weapon. It's very easy to attack and very hard to defend. But using that, we can make this hard a bit less harder. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you for attention, and let's chat further. Thank you, guys.